fantastic. Thank you. Gosh, it is quite blinding being up here, but I know you're right there. Yeah, it's fantastic. Thank you so much for inviting me to be here. I live in Angus, in Forfar in Angus, and I'm so excited by what's happening in the borders. I'm tempted to move. It's very exciting in this part of the world. Yeah, I'll be here soon. So what I'm going to talk about really is about bringing people into your business. I know I've had conversations with people already over the course of the morning about that. So I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the challenges, but some of the opportunities and some of the tools that are there to help. So first of all, I just want to perhaps introduce myself. The technology's working. So I make ceramics. I've been doing it for over 30 years. I know I don't look quite old enough, but it's true. And I also balance that with being a business advisor. And I've been working with businesses across all the creative sector for quite a long time. So really what I'm going to speak to you about just now is things that come from my personal experience of the juggle of running my own business, but also the things that I've seen reflected in all of the other businesses that I've spoken to, from all of the other parts of the creative sector, all sort of scales and sizes and stages of business. So I'm hoping that it resonates, whatever you're kind of coming with today. And I'm also going to try and speak a little bit from the point of view of people who might be taking on staff or thinking about it, and also to the students out there in the virtual world who might be thinking about how they get into working in the creative sector. So first of all, I just want to sort of recognise that really working in the creative sector, as people have already said today, is very complicated. We've got a hell of a lot of things, we've got a lot of things that we have to juggle. There's so many different skills, so many different hats, so many different things that we have to do. And I know that when I first decided quite quickly in my business that I needed some help, I took on a part-time person, and to my horror, she actually couldn't read my mind. And so it made me realize that actually the process of taking someone into your business, into your practice, is quite daunting. And really, we need to be able to think about it in advance. We need to be able to plan for it. We need to be able to make the most of it. I have to say, when it started to work well, 2 people could do more than the work of 2 people. It was a really important move for my business, but it wasn't easy. So one of the projects that I've been working on is a project with Applied Art Scotland and with the British Council, and we've created a digital toolkit for craft. Now, I have to say that it's not just craftspeople and crafts businesses that have used it. We've actually had feedback that farmers have used it and all sorts of other small businesses, because I think any small business faces the same challenge of things, having to do all of those things yourself, having to think about everything at once. It's free to use. You just have to register with an email, and it's got lots of little tips and tricks and tools and formats and checklists for you to come in at any stage of your business and really start to think about things, generally sort of planning and just thinking it through. But the particular thing that I wanted to draw your attention to is in one of the sections where it's specifically dedicated to developing your business. And by that, we mean taking people on, maybe expanding into new premises. I mean, all of these things that have quite significant financial implications, organizational implications. So what we've created are some checklists, really just to help you think it through. You might look at it and say, no, that's not an issue, but that's as important a part of the planning process. And then really importantly, and I think again it's been touched on already, is what then is possible. There's so many things you might want to do, but what sort of steps and stages do you need to think about to make it happen? So I do urge you, go and experiment with crafttoolkit.com and hopefully you'll like it. Again, I suppose it speaks to all this thing about digital, the fact that it's there for you whenever you can use it. You don't have to be in a classroom. You can just pick it up in an evening and do it when it's right. But then I wanted to share with you, I'm very aware 10 minutes is not nearly enough time for me to tell you everything I want to tell you, so I'm going to speak very fast. But one of the things I wanted to talk about as well was another project I've been involved with Applied Arts Scotland. Interestingly, this was really initiated by Inga when she was chair of Applied Arts Scotland, and she did some research into what were the barriers for craftspeople taking on apprentices? Because if you look traditionally into the past, craft is an obvious place for apprentices to be employed. Why was it not happening? And really what was discovered was that us single-person businesses were really afraid of the commitment of taking someone on a full-time basis. We have a very unpredictable seasonal business, so a full-time apprentice was quite an undertaking. And also that people were really a bit scared of the paperwork, the legalities. And they were also a little bit concerned about training someone up who then might leave again and maybe set up down the road in competition. And these are justifiable reasons for really not being sure about an apprentice, for example. But what we did with Applied Arts Scotland was we worked with Skills Development Scotland. We got some support to try a shared apprenticeship model. And it worked really well for the businesses. We as Applied Arts were the employer, and we hived out, if you like, our apprentice to go, and we had 6 apprentices, and we shared them across 2 or 3 different businesses. And it meant the apprentice got an enormously varied look at what it's like in the creative sector. And the business got a chance to gently try employing someone and see if it fitted. And then we, as the brokers, if you like, we took the legal responsibility of employing and paying the apprentice. So it did work really well, but it was also still quite complicated. It needed quite a lot of resource. And so what we've done since we undertook the pilot of the shared apprenticeship is that we've actually developed, again, an online course. We've taken the framework from the Business Skills for Craft apprenticeship framework, and we've broken it down into 3 individual professional development awards. We did this with Lewes Castle College, which has now changed its name to Outer Hebrides. So it's an online course. We did it last year as a pilot. And basically what it's doing is it's giving accreditation to work-based learning, which is a really practical way for really any craftsperson to learn. Micro-credentials is the kind of buzzword now, and it's really important, I think, to have these opportunities to just take a little bit of time out of your practice to improve your skills. You can do it while you're still getting into the studio, or you're still, doing all the other things you have to do. There's a little list there of all of the sort of module topics, and we had a course that was running for startup businesses, and we had one that was for developing businesses, people who'd been running for a while but wanted time, particularly with the pandemic and everything that we've had to readjust to. They wanted time to rethink their business. But since running this pilot, we've also been speaking to quite a few people about using it as a basis for working with groups of apprentices. So, this is a course that could be suitable for you as a craft practitioner, but it could be suitable for you as an employer putting your apprentice through a qualification. So I'm really keen to speak to anybody who wants to speak about this, because we're about to start gearing up to relaunch it and get it on back going again for early next year. So yeah, speak to me about it. Love to talk to you about it. But I think the next thing I wanted, if I can get the slide to move, yeah. Again, I want to pick up on something that people have said already, is that the creative industries is just full of tiny businesses. So, this is really maybe talking to the students out there, is to say that, if you are going to be working in the creative sector, you need to know how businesses run. You know, I think whether you decide you're going to be self-employed yourself or whether you're going to work for another small business, it's really important to get that entrepreneurial skill under your belt to be useful. And this is a diagram that I think captures what it is we're all balancing, looking at the things that we love, that inspire us, that get us up in the morning, and balancing that with the things that we're good at and the things that make money. And I know this diagram sort of belittles the amount of effort that that takes, but I quite like it as a way of sort of really grappling with what it is that we're doing. And I wanted to share with you really just a short case study, if you like. This is Holly, who was our very first apprentice. She was is the most amazing young woman. We took her on, when we were setting up the shared apprenticeship programme, we thought, well, we need to take on an apprentice to understand how it works. So we shared Holly with Calopsia, textile business, and Creative Edinburgh. And I remember we had an interview with her online because she was on her way somewhere. And she was in an airport and she still did the most amazing interview. She was 17 and incredible. And we took her on and she just added so much energy to each of our businesses. And she came with photography skills, so immediately she was useful. And I just wanted to sort of highlight that you know, I know we worry about taking someone on who's going to need some care and attention and is going to need to be shown how to do things. But I just want to come at it from the other perspective of saying, well, actually, young people come with skills we don't possess. I mean, Holly knew a lot of the technology that we were all still grappling with. So, you know, there's some real advantages. And especially if in your business you perhaps feel you don't have some of these skills, there are young people out there who do. There are older people out there who do as well. So we're not being totally ageist here. But certainly there are schemes that will help young people to sort of come into your business and get experiences. And after Holly completed her apprenticeship, she then became a part-time employee for Creative Edinburgh. They were desperate to hold on to her, so she did that on a freelance basis for a while. And then, now I think it's about 6 years on maybe, Holly now runs her very own bakery business. And the reason I wanted to highlight this is really just to talk a little bit about the fact that in the creative sector, we change and shift direction all the time. And that, you know, the skills that Holly learned from us in terms of self-employment and entrepreneurship, she then went on to use. But imagine if you were that business who had spent all that time and effort training someone who then goes off and does something else or becomes competition. So I think, you know, for the powers that be in terms of how we shape our apprenticeships, how we understand what the needs of the creative sector are, I really want to urge people to think about the patterns. We talked about it in our group over here, the patterns of working in the creative sector. It's not just about constant growth. It's actually about preparing people to work in businesses that grow and then contract and grow and contract. And I think those are just natural patterns in our sector that need to be recognised. And I think it's really about that, understanding the benefits of that way of working. You know, I think certainly the pandemic has helped us understand how important self-employed people and very small businesses are to our economy. And actually that nimbleness is a really important economic benefit that we get from the creative industries, but from other industries like us that are small and able to respond. Anyway, I'll stop preaching. That's one of my favourite subjects. Could talk about it for a long time. But I'm just going to finish up by sharing with you just some organisations that if you don't already have them on your radar, you should. Princess Trust are there for young people to really help them into self-employment, but also employment, build confidence. And it's not just the funding that's available or the loans that are available, it's actually the network of support. Princess Trust have been going for a long time, still brilliant. So definitely find out more. Young Person's Guarantee. Now, the precursor to this was a funding programme that allowed us to employ Holly. So if you are thinking about taking someone on, it's really worth looking into the support that may be available through the Young Person's Guarantee. And if you're a young person looking for opportunities, look at the Young Person's Guarantee. But it's variable in each part of Scotland. It's an undertaking to give every 16 to 24-year-old an opportunity, but exactly what it is different from one place to another. And I think someone else will be talking about that later, so I'm going to leave it there. I'm looking at you. I can see you in the audience. Yes, fantastic. And then just lastly, if I'm getting this right, just My World of Work, which is a really useful website run by Skills Development Scotland. It's got really a lot of information there about courses, about apprenticeships, about jobs, and really useful. Also, again, it's just that thing of, they're there to support employers as much as it is the young people or the person looking for the opportunity. Oh, I think that's me. So I'm just leaving you with some of these contacts. Also, please do speak to me, drop me an email, Instagram me if there's anything you'd like to know, or we'll have a chat over a cup of tea. Thank you very much.